Question 31 from May June, paper 2, variant 1. Iron rusts in the presence of oxygen and water. Which statements about the rusting of iron are correct? Okay, rusting is hydrated iron oxide. When the iron is exposed to oxygen and water, then it forms hydrated iron oxide. Hydrated iron 3 oxide. That's called rusting. Okay. It's anhydrous iron oxide is produced? No. Iron rusts more quickly when attached with a piece of zinc? No, because a piece of zinc protects iron from rusting. Coating the iron with plastic prevents the iron from rusting? Yes, it prevents it. Iron loses electrons when it rusts? Yes, iron loses electrons because iron is a metal. And whenever a metal reacts, it reacts by losing electrons. Metals always lose electron and become positively charged. So 3 and 4 are correct. Okay. Question 32. The iron nail is added to aqueous copper sulfate and a different iron nail is added to aqueous magnesium sulfate. The results are shown. Which statement is correct? Iron nail in aqueous copper sulfate. The result is nail is coated with a brown solid. Okay. Obviously, then we have an iron Fa and it is reacted with copper sulfate CuSO4. Because iron is more reactive than copper, so a displacement reaction will occur and iron sulfate will form plus copper. So that is why the nail is coated with brown solid, which is copper. The iron nail in aqueous magnesium, there is no reaction because the iron is reacted with magnesium sulfate. No reaction will occur due to the fact that iron is less reactive than magnesium. That is why there will be no displacement reaction. Iron cannot displace magnesium. It's less reactive. So which statement is correct? Copper atoms are oxidized more easily than magnesium atoms. This one is wrong. Because more easily, easier oxidation depends upon the higher reactivity. So if the element is higher in reactivity, it will easily lose its electron and become oxidized. Copper atoms are less reactive and magnesium is more reactive. That means it will be easier for magnesium to lose electrons, not copper. So it's wrong. Copper atoms are reduced more easily than iron ions. Copper ions are reduced more easily. Reduced means they gain electron. Okay, so the copper atoms gain more easily than iron ions? No, it's wrong. Iron ions gain more easily. Iron atoms are oxidized more easily than copper atoms? Yes, because iron is more reactive, so it gets oxidized easier than copper atoms. C is the answer. Iron atoms are reduced more easily? No. The one which is more reactive will get oxidized more easily, will lose the electron easier. Next, question number 33. Which pollutant leads to the deoxygenation of water in ponds and lakes? Deoxygenation means removal of oxygen. So which thing is responsible for the removal of oxygen in water? Very easy. Fertilizers. Because fertilizers, they form a layer on the top of water and they block the entry of atmospheric oxygen. So the oxygen cannot enter into the water and it cannot get absorbed into the water. That is why the water becomes deoxygenated. So the fertilizer layer blocks the entry of oxygen. Which statement identifies a sample of water is pure? If we want to check the purity of a substance, then purity can be checked by melting point, or boiling. Because if a substance is pure, then its melting and boiling points will be sharp. It will be sharp, fixed, accurate. So these boiling points indicate if the water is melting as at exactly 0 degrees Celsius. And if the water is boiling at exactly 100 degrees Celsius, that means it's pure. Okay? So it melts at room temperature? No. It turns anhydrous copper sulfate blue? No. And this is the check for the presence of water. This is a test for the presence of water. It turns anhydrous copper sulfate blue. It turns hydrated copper sulfate from blue to pink? No. It boils at 100. This is correct. This shows if the water is boiling at 100, this shows that the water is pure. Next question. Oxides of nitrogen are produced by car engines. Okay, in car engines, oxides of nitrogen are produced. In catalytic converter, oxides of nitrogen are removed by reacting them with compound X. Which row describes the type of reaction oxides of nitrogen undergo and identifies compound X? So, in the car engines, sometimes due to incomplete combustion, we get carbon monoxide and nitrogen oxides. So we will convert this harmful or toxic carbon dioxide into less toxic one by reacting it with nitrogen oxides. Okay, so when it reacts with nitrogen oxide, carbon dioxide will take the oxygen from nitrogen oxide. It forms carbon dioxide and nitrogen will form N2. Now these gases are less harmful. This happens in catalytic converter. So what is happening here? The type of reaction is oxidation. No, the type of reaction oxides of nitrogen undergo. So oxides of nitrogen. From here, the oxygen is removed from the nitrogen. So it is reduction. Nitrogen undergoes reduction because oxygen is removed from it. And the compound X with which they are reacting is carbon monoxide. So the answer is D. Question number 36. What is the advantage of producing ethanol using catalytic addition of steam to ethene? Now, to produce the ethene, we have two methods. One of the method is called fermentation, and the other method is called addition of steam to ethene. Addition of steam to ethene. Okay, these are the two methods. Now, they're asking, what is the disadvantage of producing ethanol by this method? The disadvantage is that ethene is a non-renewable material. The process uses non-renewable raw material. On the other hand, fermentation uses glucose, which is a renewable source. So that's an advantage of fermentation. Question 37. Which statement about the polymer PET is correct? PET, polymer. PET is polyester, and polyester is the polymer which can be recycled. And its recycle process is called hydrolysis. So this polyester, it can be broken down into its monomers, and then it can be repolymerized for the further use. So PET, it undergoes hydrolysis, it can be broken down into monomers and can repolymerize. The formula of 5 compounds are listed. The compounds are in the same homologous series. Now, which compounds are in the same homologous series? Same homologous series means they will be having same functional group. Same functional group. So as you can see here, this 2 and 3 and 5. These three they belong to alcohol functional group. They all have OH in them. So 3, 2, and 5. B is correct. Question number 39. Propane reacts with chlorine. Which statements about this reaction are correct? Now, propane is alkane. And when alkane reacts with chlorine, this is called a substitution reaction. When alkane reacts with chlorine, then the chlorine displaces the hydrogen of an alkane. So when we have propane, like this, propane is 3-carbon alkane with these hydrogens, 8 hydrogens, 8 hydrogen atoms, and when it reacts with chlorine molecule, the chlorine displaces one of the hydrogen of an alkane and take its place. So it will become like this. Same 3-carbon chain, but instead of this hydrogen, they will attach chlorine. And rest of them are hydrogen. And as a byproduct, this replaced hydrogen reacts with the other chlorine atom to form hydrogen chloride gas. So one of the product is HCl, and ultraviolet light is used to provide the activation energy. This reaction, this substitution reaction is called photochemical reaction. It needs sunlight for the activation energy to activate itself. Good. So the option B is correct. Which statement about chromatography is correct? A. It is not possible for two different substances to have the same RF value. No, it is possible, because if we make a chromatogram, if we see, sometimes we also, like when we see the chromatogram, we can also see like the same mixture contains two spots of the same RF value of the same length. If they have traveled the same, so it means they have same structure, same RF value. So it is possible. It is only possible to use chromatography on substances which have color. No, we can also use chromatography on the colorless substances, and then we can use the locating agent on them to make them visible. It is possible to use chromatography on colorless substance using a locating agent. Yes, it's correct. The RF value for a substance is distance traveled by the solvent divided by distance traveled by the substance. It should be the other way around. It should be opposite. So that the distance traveled by the substance, it will be in the numerator. And distance traveled by the solvent, this will be the denominator. So option C is right. We can use chromatography on colorless substances using a locating agent.